Welcome to episode 118 of Sport SA Daily Diary. Today we're chatting to South African triathlete, Matt Trautman. Matt, good afternoon. How you doing, mate?
Hey, I'm good. Yeah, yourself?
Yeah, very well, thanks. Thank you for joining us today on Sport SA Daily Diary. Great to chat to you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Matt, you've got one hell of a story. You are a triathlete now, but you certainly didn't start there. Tell us a bit about Matt as a younger guy. I believe it was kayaking and sailing and yachting and everything but triathlon.
Yeah. I've just finished reading this book called Range by David Epstein, which talks about not specializing too early. I definitely went by that model.
That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as a youngster, I was into, all of the usual sports here in South Africa: cricket and rugby and hockey. And at a junior school level, I was running and swimming and doing nippers, which is like junior life saving. And then at a high school level, I continued with that, but then got into kayaking and really enjoyed that, and it was definitely a big passion of mine at the time. And I took that quite seriously in my later years at high school, and and then from there after school, I got into sailing, and eventually into like the racing side of things. And it was only in my late 20s that I started triathlon.
And Matt, kayaking is not exactly the most well-known sport for a school sport. Maybe after school, but not certainly at school. How did you get into it?
Yeah, well, I went to school in Pietermaritzburg, and they have the Doozy canoe marathon there. So it's not popular. Certainly not worldwide, but in Natal and especially Pietermaritzburg, it is there are quite a few paddlers, and my parents were into it for a short time, and they did the Doozy, and I think that's definitely where I first got the idea of doing the sport. And there was a canoeing club at school which I joined, but I think it was my parents. I do remember watching, I think it was like the Doozy video from 1987 or whatever it was, Graham Popelis's years, where he won however many, 9-10 of them, and he was definitely an idol of mine, and he was from Pietermaritzburg. So quite a niche sport when you when you look at it in a broader picture, but when you're in it, it's sort of like the same as everything. That's all you know, really.
It seems that niche sport is certainly your way. But you really excelled in kayaking. You represent South Africa at the World Wild Water Kayak Champs. Tell us a bit about that. That must have been a pretty cool moment to firstly represent your country and secondly be at a world stage.
Yeah, for sure. That was, I think I was in my grade 11 year that I did that. Yeah, we went over to Wales, a few of us, and took part. We were like completely underprepared, really, in terms of what was happening on the international scene. Like, our boats were a bit outdated, and we had to fly them over there, and they only arrived like the day before the event. So we're tripping the river in these like plastic kayaks, and which behave completely differently compared to the lighter race boat. So we were a bit. It was a bit of an amateur show, but a great experience. I even, like, it was the first time they test your life jackets there. That they'd never done that in an event in South Africa, and I remember handing over my old life jacket, and they put a 7 kg weight on it and put it in a bucket of water, in a big drum of water, and it just sank straight to the bottom. So I had to get a new life jacket. So yeah, that was sort of the way we looked, but great experience.
Oh, absolutely, that's for sure. And then you sort of traded your kayak in, and you started sailing after school. Why the change? Why didn't you stick with the kayaking?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of money in kayaking, and it was always just going to be I mean, yeah, it was a passion, but like I never saw a career in it. And yeah, I mean, the idea with the sailing was really just to take a gap year to start with, and then I was planning on coming back and going to uni. And yeah, so I did my first year. I mean, I started out working on a boat in Mozambique. We were just like diving and fishing charters, and then met a guy there who had a race yacht in the UK. And so halfway through that year, flew over to the UK and joined his boat. And yeah, that was a whole new world, like into the racing scene. And yeah, we sailed over to the Caribbean that year, and yeah, there was no coming back from that, really. I think in hindsight, like, it was all right. Do it for another year at least. I was really enjoying it, and I mean, it turned into a 10-year journey, really.
Well, I mean, it's one hell of a journey, but I'd like to get into that and chat a bit. But Matt, have you always been one that excels at everything you do?
I mean, like I think at a junior school level, I was always very sporty, and I mean, very much a big fish in a small pond type of thing. Which yeah, sort of changed at high school. I remember, like, I mean, at junior school, you know, first team cricket and rugby and all the rest. And then at high school, I found myself I think I was in the under 14 Ds or C team for cricket. And so I mean, I very quickly, yeah, traded in the cricket bat for a canoeing paddle. And yeah, I just found something better suited to me. But yeah, I think I'm just a driven person, and always try and get the best out of myself in whatever it is that I choose.
And you're pretty close with your brother. You obviously did the Doozy with him, and we'll get to that. But was there a bit of rivalry between the two of you growing up?
Yeah, I mean, as as youngsters, yeah, big time. We're both, yeah, super competitive. So yeah, no matter what it was, the garden cricket or yeah, any sport really, big competition. And I actually got into paddling before him, so I had a head start there, and he only started a bit later. So there's maybe another reason why I loved it so much, because I, you know, it was the first time I was better at him at something, so took full advantage.
And Matt, again, I mean, you got in a yacht and you excelled. You were the first South African to complete the solo mini transatlantic. And you had some amazing victories in your yacht as well. Sort of Cape to Rio, a couple of victories there. Around Britain and Ireland, a couple of victories. I mean, mate, you just hop on something and you fly the gold flag.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it might seem that way, like looking back at it, but I mean, at the time, like, it seems like a slow process. You know, it's obviously there's no like overnight success in any of it. I mean, it took a long time to work my way up to the bigger, more competitive yachts, and like a lot of the sailing that I did was on crude boats. And I mean, it's hard to, like, sailing's a weird sport, especially like the crude sailing. It's hard to judge someone's skill, really. Like, I mean, there's no like definitive, you know, stopwatch, or, you know, it's not like you know, one crew member's crossed the line first and therefore he's the best. You know, it's very much a team effort. So like, yeah, it's a lot about like getting along with the crew, and you know, and then eventually when I was the skipper of the boat later on, like finding the right crew and finding the right mix to that makes you go quick. And then of course there's a lot of luck involved with wind shifts, and especially like offshore sailing, like it's a bit harder to you know, you can't predict every scenario, and I think that's what eventually turned me to the single-handed sailing, whereas like I want to really know like how good of a sailor am I, like can I compete if it's just me on the boat, and you know, everything is up to me. And yeah, so that was a great challenge, the single-handed sailing.
I mean, you did the transatlantic. Again, must have been quite a hair-raising experience, being out there in the middle of the ocean, kind of all on your own, having to rely 100% on yourself. And I mean, who knows what the weather is or the waves are or whatever. I mean, it must have been pretty scary stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it was a fantastic learning experience. I mean, it was a goal of mine for a while, and obviously getting the funding together to get a boat and put the campaign together is it's not cheap. So I mean, yeah, it was first finding the sponsors to help fund it. Really, once you have the boat, it's a 2-year journey to get to the start of that mini transat race you're talking about. Yeah, which goes from France to Brazil. But yeah, amazing once everything comes together and you get to the start line. It was, I mean, there were so many incidents before then, breaking masts, and I hit a fishing trawler on my one qualifying passage that I had to do. So yeah, big learning experience, the whole thing. But yeah, I loved it, loved the challenge.
And tell me, Matt, I mean, have you used what you've learned, not obviously in the sport itself, but what you've learned through your kayaking and your sailing for your triathlon now?
Yeah, I mean, I think the mental side of it has the biggest carryover. Yeah, the sailing, I mean, the single-handed stuff, yeah, you have to be, I mean, very focused I mean, that transatlantic race takes, I mean, a month in total. So it's, yeah, very much a mind game. And I mean, the triathlon training, a lot of it, yeah, I mean, a lot of it's on your own and in your own headspace. And I think that's definitely helps with the carryover to that. Yeah, just again, staying focused on individual sessions and in a race situation as well. Just trying to stay on top of your game.
And during your transatlantic, I mean, you mentioned it's a month. Are you pretty much alone for a month? You don't talk to another person for that 1 month?
Yeah, pretty much. So that class of yacht, the class mini, they try and keep it very pure. So you actually, yeah, you're not allowed any communication to the outside world. All you have is a VHF radio, so that's you can communicate to other boats if they're within sight. But yeah, so it doesn't carry too far. Once someone's out of sight, then you can't reach them. And then you get weather information over this SSB radio, which is just a receiver, so you can't transmit information. And yeah, that was a whole thing on its own, because yeah, it's a French race, and all the communication was in French. So it's sort of like crackly radio trying to get your weather information, and they give you your position updates. And yeah, it was always quite amusing. Because every day at like 10 o'clock, you wait for the broadcast and try and decipher this rapid fire French, find out what the weather's going to be and where you're lying in the field.
And you didn't befriend a volleyball or a rugby ball or someone to keep you company?
a Wilson.
Yeah.
No. No, I mean, yeah, there's obviously, yeah, some funny moments, but no, I think I managed to keep it together.
And Matt, you hopped out of your boat, got into your kayak again with your boat. And you did the Doozy, but you didn't just do the Doozy. You guys came third. Uh, I mean, really, come on. It's just
Yeah. So that third place, that was in the non-stop Doozy, which is a few weeks after the Doozy. So we had done the Doozy and we finished just outside of the top 10. We had we had some issues there which cost us, but then took revenge in the non-stop Doozy. I mean, we had trained a bit. Like, it was actually incredible how quick it came back. I think once you have those like motor patterns ingrained, if you've done it at a young age, and it comes back pretty quick, which I mean just like makes me think now, like, man, I wish I actually swam more as a kid, as a junior, like, because it would be a lot easier to get back. I've just started swimming again now after the lockdown, and complete fish out of water. So I wish the swimming came back as quick as the paddling did.
Yeah, I'm sure. And Matt, then sort of the triathlon Ironman sort of series came around. How did you fall into that?
Yeah, so I'd done the done the Doozy and the non-stop with my brother. That was in 2011, and then I think that's that sort of racing, like, endurance bug bit again. And I just, the year before, I'd finished that mini transat race, so I was looking for a new challenge. And I mean, sailing wise, it was always my plan then to step up into a bigger class of single-handed sailing. But I mean, the funding, like, the campaigns are just like crazy expensive. And so in the interim, while I was looking for sponsorship for something bigger, triathlon was a new challenge that seemed like a good idea. I was over in the UK at the time, and it was obviously the Olympics going on there, and triathlon was one of the bigger events because of the Brownlee brothers. They won gold and bronze there at the Olympics. So, like, there was quite a lot of hype around triathlon. I think it all just that all added to it. So I did a couple of races over in the UK, and then came back home to SA after that.
But I mean, you didn't just come home to SA. Within a year, probably less than a year, you'd already won your age group in the Ironman South Africa. I mean, again, mate, cheapest. You're going to start playing football next year and go play for Man United or something?
No, definitely not. No. I mean, triathlon, like, besides the swim, I mean, there's not a lot of skill involved. I mean, even like the bike it's a time trial. You're out there, you're on your own. It's just about being fit and putting the power down, rather than having a lot of skill. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be able to step up and ride on a pro tour cycling team. I just don't have the bike handling skills. So, like, that transition, that aspect made it easier. But I think it was definitely, I mean, I was surprised by the success I had so quickly. It was, I mean, like, I think I'd always, even after school, I wasn't necessarily training, but I was never sitting behind a desk, and never really, got unfit. Like, the sailing, and working, I was working on the boats every day of the week. So you're very active, and I think that sort of strength and just like endurance from being on your feet and doing something all day every day, and then racing on the weekends, and it definitely helped with a quicker transition to being successful in triathlon.
Matt, I mean, you continued to dominate. 2014, you won the Ironman in Wales. 2015, you won back here in South Africa, and in Incheon, you came fourth at the Ironman Africa Champs. 2016, you won East London, course records in Durban and Stafford. And then 2017 happened, mate, where, yeah, it wasn't a great year. You unfortunately got knocked over by a car while training.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, just going back a bit. Yeah, you can race triathlon as an age grouper or as a professional, and you need to get your pro license. And I managed to get that in 2014, and then yeah, headed over to Switzerland and joined my coach Brett Sutton over there. And yeah, that was fantastic. And went over to Wales, and that was my first victory as a professional. So yeah, things were moving and quickly in the right direction. And then had a few other injuries actually after that. I had a bike crash and broke my collarbone, and then had a stress fracture in my ankle. And yeah, it was 2017. I mean, 2016 was going well, and then that's when I had the stress fracture in the ankle. And yeah, I was like, okay, no, 2017 is going to be the year. But yeah, then got knocked off my bike. It was just before 70.3 South Africa in January. Yeah, a car hit me from behind, and I went flying over the car, and ended up with the burst fracture in two of my vertebrae.
You had a couple of ops. Did you ever think that you would be up again and racing?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a journey all on its own. I mean, the surgeon wasn't too convinced that it would be possible to race, so definitely not at a professional level. And yeah, he had done some spinal fusions to other athletes, and yeah, granted, like more rugby players, I think, and yeah, hadn't seen a good come back to a professional level. But yeah, I mean, the break happened in the lumbar vertebra in the middle of the back, and there's not, I think, quite likely not too much movement that happens from that area, and I think you can compensate for bending more from the lower back. It was more. It's more the impact of running that was the biggest challenge to overcome. So yeah, it took a while. I mean, it took most of that year, 2017, to get back to a good level. I mean, it was from 3 months. Yeah, I mean, 3 months of not doing much, and then I only started running again after 6 months. And yeah, I mean, it's probably taken a good couple of years for the body to fully adapt to that fuse section and get used to the increased load.
But was it ever an option for you not to compete? I mean, as soon as you had your op, was it, I'm going to get back to it no matter what?
No, I mean, yeah, there were days like that, and then there were days where I was online looking for which boat which boat needed some crew. Yeah, like every time, I hit a stumbling block, I was like, nah, it's just not going to be possible. And I'd be searching for jobs, and then yeah, it was a roller coaster ride, really. But no, I'm thankful that I stuck to it, and yeah, I've managed to bounce back.
And I mean, Matt, you certainly did bounce back. 2018, you won in South Africa again. So not even a year from your accident, you now back and on, and not just competing, you bloody winning.
Yeah, it was a big goal of mine, that race, to being the 1 year anniversary. I'd sort of built it up in my head as my big comeback race, and things were going well in December, and then I started having some issues, and in January I had some sciatica pain, and I think one of the discs were in the lower back L5 was starting to bulge and pushing up against the nerve. So yeah, I wasn't able to do much running, and I mean, the week of the race, I was it was really irritating me. But yeah, I think once the I'd built it up so much, and like I was like, all right, just get to the start line at least, and see what you can do. And then once the gun goes off, and they, you have the crowd support, and like I'd been out for so long that to recover from that race actually.
And I mean, Matt, South Africa seems to produce some incredible triathletes. We've got obviously yourself, there's Skuman, there's a whole bunch of the guys. What do you think it is about South Africans and triathlons that we seem to really produce some top athletes?
Yeah, we do. I mean, we do. Yeah, Richard Murray is another one. Yeah, and we got some good Ironman guys as well. But, like, I think, like, the nature of the sport being more individual helps. Like, you're not reliant on like a huge like coaching system and like too much specialized training, really, I guess. Yeah, I mean, there's like I'm coached by an Australian at the moment, but you can sort of get, I'd say, 90% of the way there on your own. And yeah, I don't know. South Africans are just resilient, I guess, which helps a lot for a sport where you race for 2 hours to up to 8 hours. So I think maybe it suits our character.
And then, Matt, beginning of this year, you won South Africa 70.3 again for your 4th time. What does sort of the future hold? Are you just going to continue to racing and winning? Olympics, I presume, is on the cards. Where does Matt go from here?
Yeah, so I mean, 2020, same as 2017. I was planning for it to be a big year. And no, I mean, it started out well, with a 70.3 South Africa. I mean, I think that was probably one of my best races since the accident. A great field. Henry Skuman, the Olympic bronze medalist, was there, and Brad Bice, who had won the year before, ex-Euro world champion. So yeah, I had a really good race there, and yeah, I was really looking forward to having a good year, which has obviously had to be put on hold for a while. But no Olympics. I focus on the longer distance stuff. So yeah, the big goal is Ironman World Champs, which normally happens in October, and it's been postponed until Feb now. If that happens, and obviously still have to qualify for that. At the moment, Ironman South Africa is on the cards for November, the full distance race. So yeah, hopefully that goes ahead, can qualify for the World Champs. And I mean, I seem to go well in January, February type of time, and it's a European winter, so hopefully that doesn't suit those guys as well. So yeah, the goal at the moment is to get to the World Champs in Feb and have a good one there. I mean, I don't have that many years left. If I'm, at my peak, I started so late. It's can probably be competitive into your late 30s, but so I have limited time to just do as much racing as I can.
The way you go, I think you'll be racing and competing until you're about 70. Matt, you've had some incredible moments in your career, from the kayaking to the sailing and the yachting and the Doozy and the Ironman. Has there been one specific moment that's been a standout in your career so far?
I mean, there've been a few. And each, going through different phases, obviously. I mean, the mini transat I'd say was definitely my biggest moment in yachting. And then that first win at Ironman Wales in 2014, that was my first professional win, and that really just like cemented for me that I'd made the right career choice, and that I was on the right track. So yeah, that was a really big moment looking back, and it helped hugely with sponsorship as well moving forward. So yeah, that win alone enabled me to carry on as a professional. But yeah, I mean, all the all the victories, and I mean, it's, I think, more when you know you've put out your best efforts, and you can look back and think, all right, I left nothing out there, and especially when it's a close race and it's been a good battle. I think those are always the greatest races to look back at.
And just in closing, has there been a specific race, like, I don't know, a sprint finish or a really tight race with somebody that's, again, been one of your favorite or your toughest?
I've had a couple of really close battles. I mean, at Ironman Wales race in 2014, I was together with the guy Fraser Cartmel for probably 6.5 hours of the race. We were racing head to head. 2016 and 70.3 South Africa, same thing with Stu Murray, battling right until the end. And then I've had 2 actual sprint finishes, both in China actually. One where I managed to get the win, and one where I was on the receiving end of the sprint. So always definitely always the fondest memories looking back at those, when it's such a good battle with someone.
It's incredible to think, after doing such a long amount of distance and time, that 2 athletes can be sprint finishing the final 100 meters. I mean, it's insane to think about.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Matt, it's been brilliant chatting today on Sport SA Daily. Thank you for your time. Good luck when we're all allowed to get out and resume competing. No doubt that you'll be at the World Champs and flying the flag high.
Yeah, thanks so much, Adam.
Look out for tomorrow's episode of Sport SA Daily Diary, where we chat to South Africa's leading female cyclist who's making a name for herself abroad.